Hi Year 7, it's Mrs. Reed here and welcome to lesson 14. Goodness me, we've gone through quite a number already. So lesson 14 and today's focus is reading. In fact, we're going to be reading the story Hostage and we'll be finishing the story today. Let's make sure you're ready to start though, please. As I always say, make sure you're distraction free. Make sure you've got your exercise book or if not, some lined paper to write on. Make sure you have a pen or pencil, and some coloured pens or pencils might be useful for our final activity today. Get yourself ready and pause the video if you need to get what you need before you start. Okay, so let's have a look at today's lesson. So today we're reading chapters 5 and 6 and that takes us to the end of the story. We'll be answering I think a few more than 5 questions actually. I think it's about 7 questions. There will be a creative task at the end and then you'll be asked to check your work. Can I ask you please to make sure your page is set up just like mine is here, where you've got your title, today's date, underlined with a ruler, and we use the letters of THUD to tick off what we have done. So T for title, U for underline and D for date, and remember that H is for our handwriting and we can only check that at the end of the lesson if we've been trying to keep our writing as clear and neat as possible. Okay, pause the video, get your page set up before you press play. Ooh. Here we go. So we'll be reading to the end of the book in just a few minutes and then we're going to be answering 7 questions. So we're going to read it together and then you'll have some time to go through and answer these questions to show your understanding of the book. Remember, you're expected to write in full sentences at all times. So I will be modelling some sentences for you to practice. So that means capital letters, full stops, nice clear writing is essential. Okay, so if you want to read along with me, make sure you've got your copy of the book. I know these were sent out to you. And let's find the page that we were on. So we got to the start of chapter 5. So in fact, we're at page 45. Do you want to find that now? If I can, there we go. Let's go over to my visualizer and then I can show you the work. So you can see my page is all set up for when we finish reading and we're ready to write. But for our reading, we're going to pop the book underneath and I use a ruler to track the text. So we can see here then that in chapter 5 we have the chase. So we've got to the most dramatic part of the story now and we're hopefully going to find out what happens to Angela. Okay, so look at the characters here. Can you remember what happened at the end of chapter 4 that we read yesterday? What's going on in this scene? Okay, so this is the moment then that the kidnappers, the lady and the 2 men, have got themselves locked outside of the room, haven't they? Angela managed to go in and shut the door and try and lock herself in. Okay. Only just in time. The doorknob shook as they tried to get out. I took the gum out of my mouth and stuffed it into the keyhole. Then I jammed the pencil in that I found in my pocket. I jammed it into the lock. Get out of the way. I've got a spare key, the woman said. I smiled. I did not know that they had a spare key when I jammed the lock. I did it just in case. Now the spare key would not work because the gum and my pencil were in the lock. That was good thinking. Angela, open this door now, yelled the blonde man. Not on your life, I thought. I ran down the stairs. I didn't have much time. There it was, what I'd been looking for. The phone! The others were still shouting at me from the upstairs room. I picked up the phone. Where would Dad be? At home or his shop? I didn't have time to find out. I'd better phone the police. I dialed 999. Police, I said. Please help me. My name's Angela Henshaw. My dad owns Henshaw's jewellery shop in the high street. I've been kidnapped. Angela made a good decision there, didn't she? Phoning the police so that they could come and help her. The kidnappers left Dempsey by the old church road. We drove on for about 3 minutes, then 600 left, 1,400 right, 120 right. No, don't ask me what that means. Ask Dad. I've been kidnapped and I don't know where. But at that moment, my kidnappers smashed the door down. I froze. Then it all began to happen. There were shouts and the sound of running and footsteps. In a panic, I threw myself at the front door and yanked at the door latch. Don't turn around, I told myself, over and over again. The door opened. Angela! My kidnappers shouted. Angela! Come back here, they called. They were close. Don't turn around, I told myself. I felt a hand touch my back. I yelled and ran towards the moonlit trees as fast as I could. I had to get away before that hand could get a good grip. Then the moon went behind a cloud and I couldn't see a thing, but I had to keep going to get away from my kidnappers. Angela, we won't harm you. Damn it, come back! Their voices seemed all around me. Don't look back, Angela, I told myself. Keep running. I slipped, got up and kept running until I couldn't hear the voices anymore. And then the ground fell away from my feet and I was falling and falling. I thought I'd never stop. Dun dun dun! What happens next? Cliffhanger? Poor Angela. I must have fainted. I woke up and thought at first I'd been having an awful dream. But this was no dream. It was still dark and very cold and I was sore all over. I couldn't see a thing. I felt around with my hands. I was on this long, thin ledge and beyond that, there was nothing. I didn't feel brave anymore. Help! I yelled at the top of my voice. Help! The ledge shook under me. Fear gripped me. I felt behind me for a handhold. There was none. And I was so cold and so tired that I just wanted to sleep. But Dad told me that you must keep awake if you are ever stuck outside in the cold. He said, if you go to sleep, you might never wake up again. Dad, if only I could see him one more time, just to hug him and say sorry. Help! I yelled. Angela? Angela! And then there was a light shining in my eyes. Angela! Hang on! I'm here with the police. You've fallen down a pit. Stay still. We're coming down to get you. I started to cry again. It was Dad's voice. Dad had come to get me. In the light of the torch above, I saw a policeman tie a rope around his waist. Angela, it's all right. I'm coming to get you, said the policeman. So don't run off, will you? That made me laugh a bit. I was still crying too. Dad and the other policemen and women then held on to the other end of the rope. One policeman came down for me and lifted me onto his back. Then he pulled himself back up to the top of the pit with me. Oh, can you see here, Angela, down in the pit? And there we go. And then the policeman here, look, he's pulling her up, and there's her dad and the other police officers all pulling the rope to try and pull her out of the pit. Dad lifted me off the policeman's back. Dad hugged me, and I hugged Dad. We were both crying. The policemen were standing around grinning at us. Dad, did you give the kidnappers your jewels? I asked. Angela, I would have given them everything. I had to have you safe back home. Dad smiled. How did you know where to find me? I sniffed. We got to your dad just as he left his shop with 2 bags filled with jewels for the kidnappers, said a policeman. Dad and I smiled at each other. You should have told us sooner, said one policeman to Dad. We know what to do when someone has been kidnapped. I didn't want to risk messing things up, Dad said. Angela means more to me than all the jewels in the world. Where are the kidnappers? I asked. We've got them all, grinned a policewoman. They still don't understand how you could have told us where you'd been taken. You couldn't see anything with a scarf over your eyes. Why don't you both go off now? We can wait until tomorrow to ask you lots more questions, said one policeman. Can we go home? I asked Dad. I'll cook you all the things you like best. Beans, bangers and mash while you have a bath and get warm. Then we'll talk, okay? Okay, I grinned. And we walked hand in hand back to Dad's car. So there was a happy ending after all. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed that story. Let's go back over to our questions. Ooh, don't want the answers. Okay, so I would like to know then, please, 7 things. How did Angela, or what did Angela use to jam the lock? Who did she ring, and what did she run towards? In fact, we could use those as our first sentences. What did she use to jam the lock? Okay, well, Angela used, will be my sentence, used ... to jam the lock. And you can tell me what items did she use. Who did she ring? Okay, Angela rang, and you can tell me who did she make that phone call to. What did she run towards? Oh, tricky one. Okay, so when she escaped, Angela ran towards... Okay, that's our first 3. So if I go back to my camera a minute so you can see. Can you see that I'm starting with Angela's name each time for number 1? Put that in the margin. Number 2 and number 3. And then you're going to fill in the spaces here. What did she use to jam the lock? Who did she call? Tell me here. And what did she run towards when she escaped? When she fell, what did she land on? Whose voice did she hear first? Okay, so number 4 starts with a part that tells when. When she fell. What punctuation do I need here after when she fell? I need a comma. When she fell, Angela landed on, you need to tell me the answer. Number 5, whose voice did she hear first? Ooh, she heard her. Does that give you a clue? I think it does. Whose voice did she hear first? And number 6, how did the policeman get down to her? All right, we'll do that one in a moment. Sentences then, you can see that I'm writing in full sentences each time. I've left it blank where you need to put in the right answers. I've gone all the way here up to question 5, so I'll leave 6 and 7 for you to complete. Again, rephrase the question and use it to write your sentence in your answer. Pause the video, make sure you've completed questions up to number 7. I'll go back to the questions so you can see them again. So you may want to pause the video here. Perfect. Right, so it's time to start marking. So make sure you have yourself another coloured pen and let's go through the answers. Number 1. Well, Angela used her pencil, but she used something else too. She used some gum and her pencil to jam the lock of the door. 2. Angela rang the police. Well done if you remembered that. 999 she called to call the police. Number 3. Angela ran towards the moonlit trees. In fact, if you remember, it got dark suddenly when a cloud passed over the moon, and that is what caused her to run off the edge there and then fall down. Number 4. She landed then on a long, thin ledge. She was very, very lucky. Number 5. Angela heard her dad's voice first of all. Number 6. The policeman got down to her using a rope tied around his waist. And number 7, Angela's favourite meal that Dad cooked her at the end was beans, bangers and mash. Okay, check your answers please and give yourself a mark out of 7. Okay, over to you then. I would like you to draw me today your favourite meal. So you might want to draw a plate and then your food on the top if you like, if it comes on a plate. So Angela's dad says, I'll cook all the things that you like best. I'll cook you beans and bangers and mash. So I would like you to tell me, if you were in Angela's position, if you'd gone through something as dramatic as that and you'd just been rescued, what would your favourite meal be? Draw a picture of it and write 2 sentences. My favourite meal is, and I like it because. Pause the video and complete those tasks now, please. Okay, so I am really looking forward to seeing all of your favourite meals and finding out what you enjoy eating. What would I choose? I think I'd go for like lasagna and garlic bread. That's a good hearty meal and I think that would make me feel better. Okay, final thing from me today then is we've read 2 stories so far. So I want one more sentence please that tells me which story you liked the best. So you can use this sentence stem and it says I liked The Magic Finger / Hostage the best because. So remember you need to take out one of the titles there, just include the one that you like and tell me a reason why you liked that story. Pause the video and complete your final sentence. Great work guys, so as always let's check our work off. You should have answered the questions in your exercise book in 4 sentences. You should have drawn and described your favourite meal. You should have checked the answers and marked your answers to the questions. And finally, please send me a copy of your wonderful work. Have a good day. Bye.